In September of 1857, there was another revival that was somewhat different than some of the ones that we think of as revival. A man, Jeremiah Lamphere, started a businessman's prayer meeting. He began to get convicted. He knew that there was a deadness in New York City where he lived, and he wanted to see it changed, and he felt God calling him to prayer. He started a prayer meeting from 12 to 1 o'clock in New York City, downtown. He put out flyers and invited people, and 7 people came to the first one. Amen. And they were late. He had to just sit there for, I think it was like a half hour before even the 7 showed up. But God moved. And a week later, 20 showed up, and they decided to do this daily. And it was one of the most powerful events in American history. They were meeting at a Dutch Reformed church, and in February and March, which was just a short period of time, a few months into this, every church and public hall in downtown New York was filled with men repenting and praying. Amen. 10,000 a week were being converted in New York City by that time alone, just in New York City. Revival spread from there to everywhere. They started not just praying from 12 to 1, but meetings started at 8 o'clock in the morning, some places, 12 to 1 in others, and in the evenings. At about a year, they began to add on more evangelistic services and prayer and preaching and singing. But for the first year, it spread to over 1 million people were converted in a population of only 30 million people. Amen. It jumped out of America and jumped the Atlantic. The thing that kind of stopped it was the Civil War. And it definitely put a screaming halt and got in the way of what was happening. But this thing affected hundreds of thousands of people. Amen. It was unique because it wasn't so much an evangelistic service. You were allowed to speak for 5 minutes at the most, and you couldn't speak but 2 times. And men would come up and they would sing and they would confess their sins and give testimonies. Amen. And this was something that made a difference. I remember reading about Denver at that time, that Denver was a western city. The whole city would shut down from 12 to 1 o'clock for prayer meetings. And Western Union would give free messages to anybody that was trying to get hold of their parents, because so many were there. It was a place of drunkenness and the gold rush and all of these kinds of things, and it literally changed the culture. Prayer has always been a part of revival, amen, and something would happen that would change, and we can be those that get a burden for prayer. Jeremiah Lamphere got a burden for prayer, started a revival. I came to Denver. I met with a couple of Billy Graham associates, and they told me the story of 3 elderly women that would go for 10 years. They would go to random Billy Graham crusades. They couldn't afford to go to all of them because they would go rent a motel room and pray in 8-hour shifts. The 3 of them would take 8 hours each and pray for revival. And Billy Graham went back and looked through those, and in every place those women prayed, there were 3 times more converts than there were in the other crusades. Don't tell me that prayer doesn't work. If there's anything, it's time to pray. Try it. Set aside some time. Pray for your pastor. Pray for your church. Pray for revival. Amen, in your life.